All right, so yeah, this is Aussie on the daily chart. As you can see, sort of we've had this massive breakout ever since the CPI last night, and it's just bang, taken off, taken off. I mentioned this before, it's about 182 points or so in this one move here, which is the space of 24 hours, which for Aussie is just an insane breakout. But what we're sort of seeing here at the moment, you're getting this sort of large falling resistance, which if you zoom out and take it right back here, um, we've actually been respecting this. This is from 75 highs, 76 highs, sorry, from back in April 22. We've obviously sort of hit it a couple of times, so where we at? And now we're just coming into it for a fourth time. So, this has obviously been respected a few times, but again, the more it's respected, the more significant it is when it breaks. So here we are. And also, if you look at sort of how quickly these retests are coming together, that obviously shows some strength coming up into this. But 182 points in 24 hours, you're going to see some pullback, and you're going to see some profit taking. I know I've taken all my Aussies off the table. So we had this sort of like consolidation patch down the bottom here. Obviously, an epic run from this. It's basically, you can call it a fake out. There's two levels of this fake out here. Like we've been in this long range since March, and it's just been boom, 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 back and forth. You've got this breakdown here. It's come down here, and then that's one sense of the sort of fake out. And then you've got this extra sellers, buyers, sellers, and the sellers. At one point, this is one big yellow candle, and you got to think how many people are like, look, we've broken the range, we've broken down. We've tried to bounce back up. We couldn't even come up for a retest here. And now we're breaking down. We're going to go even further. And people were looking down, the previous lows, which were sort of around the 62s. I mean, there's a couple of different zones we could sort of draw up down here. But certainly they were sort of thinking that was going down. And just in nice sort of stuff around fashion, they just absolutely ripped it. Right back up here to touch 69 on the pretty much on the dot as they did it. And then, of course, boom, selling it down again. And we've just been in this little range for the last 2 weeks or so, just before the breakout on CPI. So these moves are just really like this was a bit of a grind up and very quick down, but this sort of reaction here, Aussie doesn't move like this normally. So it's been a great trade. You've sort of seen, like, in typical areas where you'd have the stops, like, because if you zoom in on this slot here, as we were trying to sort of come down, we were trying to break back up around here a couple of times, and you can see it's marked out with a D1 sort of resistance. But this is where you'd be putting your stops because we tried to recover, and then bang, went down. So if I'm short, bang, I put my stops around here, and I just ride it as best I can. Likewise, you would have seen more stops had it marked at the time, sort of around this zone here as well, as it's tried to come up, tried to come up, tried to come up. I mean, three times, excuse me, after this initial point here, we were getting a sort of lower, sort of decreasing resistance, and each time coming in that slight bit lower. So obviously people are like, yeah, I'll put my stops over here. They hit it out, came back, retested the top side of this little sort of falling resistance that we had, and that's when CPI dropped, and bang, it's just sort of gone off. So yeah, it's pretty natural to sort of see a little bit of profit taking here. I still think the strength that this has come back up is pretty much re-rating. Excuse me. It's re-rating Aussie dollar against the US on a sort of fundamental level because I mean, market's been sort of going on and pricing for uh, Fed to be hiking in the next round, and confirmation of most likely they're going to pause is that 3% CPI, because realistically, you've got business confidence sort of really coming in quite low. You've got a lot of other data that's sort of showing that sort of like, everybody's talking about recession and they're moving on to these sort of levels. They're 1% off their target. So, why sort of risk pushing everything into recession just when they're getting considerable drops on the last two rate hikes? So it's sort of like, well, we're already moving in that direction. given the current level of rates, what good are you going to get? Like, there's no sort of prize for getting there a month before, but you blow up the economy as you do it. It's got to be that balancing act of the two. And certainly, I think that's the reason we're seeing such a strong sort of sell off by USD, because they're just sort of going, look, there's no chance that, well, not no chance, you never say there's no chance, you don't work in absolutes. But there's a very high chance that they're going to pause this one and then sort of see how it goes, wait for the next CPI, and then sort of they can sort of talk about what they're going to do later in the year. But for now, we're back on the idea that Fed's going to be holding. We're back on the idea that RBA, while Australia's CPI is still at 5.1%, although it's coming down, it's still considerably higher. Plus, we have lower rates. So, given a couple of the sort of comments made by Lowe recently, I would think, given sort of what he's been saying, that that's the direction that we're going to be heading, as in another sort of rate hike come next meeting. So we're just going to have to sort of see how we go with that one. So what I've actually been looking at to potentially, if we go back onto the daily chart, despite the sort of large falling resistance, we see a little bit of a channel starting to attempt to form. While we've just been in this sort of sideways channel for a long time, we've sort of gone down here. We've sort of like, everybody's been okay, you know what I mean, trading the range, that's fine. Shooting down here, anybody that had their textbook stops underneath this range would have been taken out. So all the longs are out. You've got a whole new bunch of shorts that are piled in. They shoot it back up here. This squeezes everybody that just got short while they were waiting for this break. We're going down, boom, let's add it, go heavy, bang, squeeze it right up. They all have to close their positions because, if you're heavy down here and it's moving up here, which was, from under 65 to 69, like 400-point move in like the space of two and a bit weeks or so, they're going to be hurting. So they're going to be closing their shorts. Same thing happens up the top here. You break out the top, and this is why you got this big blow off here, because you saw that there would have been a whole bunch of stops here, and it's just gone bang, blown up the top of it. Same thing you did down here. So you've hit all the short stops, or the last of the short stops, unless they were sort of scaling out. Anybody that's like, oh, I'll try and get in, I'll try and get in, I'll try and get in, they would have put, okay, but if it goes out the top, well, it's obviously a fake out down here, and we're going way back up over here into the 70s. Same sort of deal. Drag in new longs, stop out the existing shorts, and we come back down again. And it's just, I don't want to say manipulation, but it's people know what they're doing, and they know how a lot of people will trade when their textbook with their stops. So that's where they're going to put it. So anyway, they come back down, back into this range again. As you can see, it really tightened up here over a couple of days. Like, we're looking at sort of, I suppose it's about 100 points, but it was flying around 50-point days, particularly the second half of it here. We saw a bit of a recovery here, but then it was bang, 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 bang. So very infuriating here. But obviously, once we've broken, we've gone. Boom. So what I'm looking at potentially here is I was looking at the previous, if this is the new channel, this one we've got here, and let's make it a bit fatter because it's our main sort of channel, make it white as well. So actually, no, we can't make it white. Stick with the blue. So if this is our new channel here, what I'm trying to look for is, okay, with this drop down here, so we've got a high and a low here, potential sort of start of our upward trending channel. I've looked at the distance between where the drop came down and where it came back up to even. Now, given this sort of cycle, I've then copied and pasted basically the same move over here, as you can see, 24 bars, so 34 days of length. Obviously, you got the weekends and all this kind of stuff happening as well, to come back up to where this drop came down from. Not to sort of make the new high, but to come back to even. So if that was to come back at the same rate, and I did this when we were down here, you can see where these sort of lines have started from down here as well. This sort of gives us over here Thursday 20th. So that's 1 week from today, which I didn't expect it to come up this hard, but you got to take what you can. But yeah, these are the kind of price levels that I was thinking. So if we were to see the same price action from last time, you would see a continuation, like it's gone down, up, down. Next leg, we would expect to come from the lows down up to here. And this is why we've got our price target here to sort of continue this channel formation. And then obviously we'd be looking at some sort of pullback again, and so on and so on, sort of thing going along. But so three sort of price targets that we're looking at is one, to get to this level here. That's the same speed that we've had from this drop off here. Went a bit high, came down from the lows, bang, up over here. Also got from the very low of this point here to the time it took to get to the top, like the new high, so not back to the even of the previous, to make the new high, so it would be up around this point where we've got the price target. I've got this sort of level here. And we've again copied and pasted it from the lows, or the second low down here. We had a bit more of a range in this one, but from when it took off, and this is what I consider from when it took off, and this takes us out here till Monday 24th. So it's the 13th now. So, you know, we've got another week and a bit or so on that 24th. Yeah, another sort of, yeah, almost 2 weeks or so. But that gives us another sort of a bit of a time target and also a price target. Because what you don't want to do is sort of find that you've got this price target that's sitting up above here in the sky somewhere, and that's great, but it just ends up doing this. Like, you know, it's all very well to say, yeah, my target's up here and it'll get here, and it probably will eventually, given a long enough length of time, and these things can fly around. But for the short term, you want to have a bit of a sort of time target on it as well. And we want to actually sort of see a confirmation of this more uptrend channel. And this is a nice, healthy, in terms of a daily growth, sustainable growth method. So yes, they're the sort of targets that we're looking for here. Firstly, we'd like to sort of see it retest, because again, you got to think, if I've sort of caught the top here and say I shorted it here and I put my stops like way up here kind of thing, it started to come down. Okay, I'm going to reduce my risk. I'm going to move my stops. Where are you going to put them? Got to put them just above the highs. So just over here, so out here. So this is where we're going to be seeing probably a bit of stop action as well. So, you know, I expect a little bit of a pullback, maybe a little bit of a sort of consolidation around here, and then maybe another push, at least to sort of, it gets this close to 69. I can't see it not testing those highs again. So we'll just have to sort of wait and see. And, you know, at the moment, what I'm going to be doing is looking for a bit of a pullback, look for sort of probably a couple of these sort of previous highs. I mean, you can see that previously 68.30 level has been a bit of a sort of a marker. Obviously, the 68.06, which is around the same, more or less, of 68 even. So you've got the mental barrier there as well. So they're the levels I'll be looking for, a little bit of a pullback. So it'll be along these sort of lines down here, maybe a little bit of a back and forth, not very clean there, but whatever. And then come up here, test these levels, push up, and then over to 70s. That's a short-term best case bull scenario for me. We'll have to sort of see what the US dollar does.